There's never been a sporting year quite like 2021. It would, though, take a little time for the volume to be turned up. Like everything else, it had to wait. As the year began, the backing track was the sound of silence. Fans were still some way behind. COVID's cancellations and chaos continued, the pandemic still providing all the background noise. The empty stadia, a stark, constant reminder that no amount of fake sounds or even fake crowds could drown out. That was over here. Over there, well, this was how the world's best tennis players were preparing for one of the first major sporting events of the year, the Australian Open. Strict hotel quarantine divided opinion. Tennis was struggling to keep calm and carry on. Novak Djokovic became the men's champion, the first of 3 Grand Slams for him this year. Naomi Osaka, the women's champion, her first and final Grand Slam of 2021. Her withdrawal from the others to protect her mental health, the starting point for another of the year's major sporting narratives. In truth, many were still questioning whether sport should be going ahead at all. Rugby Union's Six Nations did, just about, and despite everything off the field on it, it was one of the best we've ever seen. An empty Twickenham and defending champions England is where Scotland began. Intimidating, perhaps, but they came with a plan.
Try! And it's Duan van der Merwe who gets the touchdown. A strange and silent Twickenham, save only the cheers and roars of the Scotland players.
Wales began at home, no crowd of course.
Normally you pause for the roar.
But that roar, the passion was very much there. Ireland saw red, was shown red, and the team in red would do just enough.
Dives for the
And so to the snow and Murrayfield.
Little beacon of light in the west of Edinburgh.
The rugby once more red hot.
To the flyer, Lewis Rees-Zammit. Lewis Rees-Zammit chasing down his own kick. And Lewis Rees-Zammit, he's going to get there. What a try! What an important win for Wales. 2 from 2 now.
Back home, the neighbours were waiting.
Will England catch fire? When will they catch fire?
The answer, not in Cardiff. The questions, though, didn't end there.
Lewis Rees-Zammit, the fly. Oh, he can't quite gather it. Liam Williams, it has gone forward. Has it? Wow.
To Paris then for an extraordinary finish to the match and ultimately the championship.
France must score, surely. It's going to be Brice Dulin for the bonus point try. That will win France the game.
Wales beaten at the death, but could Scotland now help them out?
The strangeness continues.
They could scarcely have left it later.
Hastings flings it. Van der Merwe steps, and Van der Merwe scores. What a Six Nations, what an end to this match, what an end to this championship.
Incredibly, that meant Wales were champions, drama that deserved an audience. The women's Six Nations, well, that felt the impact even more. Restructured, reorganised, the culmination, an England-France final.
Cleo has it, Cleo still bulldozing her way forward, still a couple of metres left to go. Wonderful stuff from England, good support in there as well by Harrison. England look like that might be over. They cannot stop winning, they are champions again in 2021.
England couldn't stop winning, and neither, it seemed, could Rachel Blackmore, riding winners but never getting carried away. In April, she became the first female jockey to win the Grand National aboard Minella Times.
The gender thing was never an issue, and I've just carried that forward, but just such a special race, and I'm just absolutely honoured to be able to put my name beside it.
At the Crucible, the roar was finally back. The World Snooker Championships became the first major British event to welcome back fans. Raising the roof, champion Mark Selby. Fans returning in football, fans revolting. Proposals for a European Super League sparked outrage. Fan power won for now.
Manchester City are the Premier League champions, its finest team.
One of those involved was Manchester City. Having won the League Cup, they added the Premier League title. Celebrations, but they dreamed of more. as did Chelsea women, but not before they had to wait to the very last day of the season to clinch the big domestic prize.
Chelsea are the champions of England!
Still, very little could match the scenes of jubilation in Glasgow, in one side of it at least.
For every Rangers fan, all players all over the world, it's a big moment.
We've worked our way up from the bottom and now we are right at the top.
We're the champions and it's been one fantastic journey.
Rangers champions, but the cups, both of them belong to St Johnstone. In Scotland, still no fans were there to see the historic double. And that is what partly made the FA Cup final so extraordinary. 21,000 inside Wembley to witness one of the great cup final goals.
What a shot from Yuri Tielemans! FA Cup winners for the very first time.
Leicester's win, one of the year's most poignant sporting moments. Chelsea Women's Champions League final was played behind closed doors. Fans back home may well have watched through their fingers, beaten 4-0 by Barcelona. Fans at matches was still a novelty, so too travelling abroad. For some it was time to get reacquainted. Manchester United were in Gdansk for a Europa League final.
And Villarreal win the Europa.
Beaten dramatically on penalties by Villarreal. Porto was the rather hastily rearranged venue for the Champions League final. A continental, full English Chelsea against Manchester City, finally opening up. The Euros began with a nod to the past, but a turn to the future. Nessun Dorma, none shall sleep. Fitting.
Game 1 of 51. A year late, the journey begins. Here's Insigne!
And they've lit up Rome tonight.
We're looking forward to a competition, and suddenly something much more important is at stake right now.
Come on, England! Got past one, then two, then plays it into Sterling! Scotland are back and eager to make up for lost time. It's the Czech Republic on the break. Anguish.
It's a really big night ahead. Touches it back for the second goal. Robert Page and his team have done a nation proud. Go on, Wales!
Goodness me, it's loud. Dykes! Only a win will do. Modric plays it in!
Two players now isolating, his team much criticised. It's put into the back of the net by Raheem Sterling. The start of the knockout stage of the European Championship. Lovely touch. Flag stays down, it's 4-0. And for this tournament, this time, that's that.
This is an amazing story being told in Budapest. It is the first shot knockout at Euro 2020.
And the reign of Portugal as European champions is over.
Has to find the back of the net. The world champions France are going home.
It's not the final, it just feels that way. Grealish in! In comes the captain! It's finally happened. This is one of those landmark football moments that don't come around too often. Onwards to Rome, where things could get better and better and better. Kane! Ukraine blown away. England on their way. Schmeichel saves. Kane is there to follow in. Wembley is alive and thundering with noise. Into the final of a major tournament for the first time in 55 years.
England versus Italy in the final of the European Championship.
Excitement and emotion around Wembley that hasn't been felt since you know when. Trippier who'll cross, and it's Luke Shaw! It's the start of dreams! Flicked across, this is a problem, and it is in! England once again are involved in a penalty shootout. The nation holds its breath. And Rashford has missed. Saved by Donnarumma. Saka has to score. Italy are the champions of Europe.
Huge disappointment for England, the aftermath of the final equally so. The racist abuse of some England players prompted more national soul-searching.
The boys that have done so well for us, which I think has brought so many parts of our country together. For some of them to be abused is unforgivable, really.
The final two saw the dark side of returning fans. Images of crowd trouble at Wembley before the game were beamed around the world. A damning report would call it a day of national shame.
What happened was a very near miss, and that near miss would be a significant loss of life or injuries, probably on a scale that sadly we saw at Hillsborough.
Across the capital, things were far more serene. New stars were emerging, whilst others were shining once more.
The championships are back. The All England club looks picture perfect and ready to welcome back the fans.
Andy Murray once again back where he belongs.
Oh, it's brilliant. He's done it again, and there is the smile, and all that anguish slips away.
I feel very lucky I get to do it again, and I'm going to keep playing. I want to play.
And we have just heard one of the sporting roars of the year. Wimbledon has a new star. 18-year-old Emma Raducanu.
Ashley Barty. A destiny fulfilled.
And the celebrations can begin.
Wiley and Kimiji are the champions.
A sixth Wimbledon title.
There was a new name on the list of golf's Open champions.
What an incredible debut at the Open for Colin Morikawa.
The American winning the claret jug at the first attempt. Upper Carnoustie, Anna Nordqvist triumphed in the Women's British Open.
Anna Nordqvist is a major champion again.
Not for either of them the final victory of their year. Cycling's biggest moment, the Tour de France, was won by Tadej Pogacar, but British focus was once more on Mark Cavendish as he equalled the record of 34 stage wins. Harlequins were crowned men's Premiership Rugby Union champions in one of the competition's greatest finishes, before a much disrupted tour ended with the British and Irish Lions narrowly beaten in South Africa. There were some fans back at Wembley for the Challenge Cup final, St Helens seeing off Castleford. They won the Women's Cup too in a stellar year for Saints. But the summer of 2021 will be remembered for the biggest sporting event of all, a delayed Olympics that almost didn't happen again. A global games amidst a global crisis, athletes bringing home both medals and memories.
自信を持って舞台に上がってください。今こそアスリートとスポーツの力を見せる時が来ました。世界の皆様、日本へようこそ。ようこそ東京へ。
Couldn't wait till I got outside, wondering what the world be like. I knew I had to change my mind, didn't realize it would happen oh so soon.
Max Whitlock is still the Olympic champion.
Willow, I love you.
The world's so different now. There's a place by the sea, and that's my town. When I don't know what to say, when I don't know what to do, there's a room I need to sit in, surrounded by my favorite view, and I need a hand to hold, someone to tell the
Sky Brown will take bronze.
if I came home to
Well, Tom Dean
Duncan Scott looking really good at the moment. Tom Dean is Olympic champion. Can you believe that?
Independence comes with a price. I'm questioning your own advice.
Sorry. I love you, Dad.
But I know I'll be alright with an open door.
Bronze for Declan Brooks.
And Ben Mayer has gold for Great Britain.
That I see the
Dickinson now striding towards silver.
There's a place by the sea, and that's my town.
We love you.
When I don't know what to say,
Can we have 2 gold?
when I don't know what to do, there's a room I need to sit in.
A silver and a gold in BMX racing. Oh my God!
A hand to hold, someone to tell the truth. Would it be okay if I came home to you?
Triathlon will be golden for Great Britain in Tokyo.
Charlotte Worthington has absolutely smashed her second run out of the park. It is a glittering 5th Olympic gold medal for Laura Kenny.
We're the Olympic champions, and that's just a dream come true.
Galoya Fai is the Olympic champion.
You know, I'm so proud.
Jason Kenny in British Olympic history. Adam Peaty, double Olympic champion.
And I see the world so different now. 'Cause there's a place by the sea, and that's my town. When I don't know what to say, when I don't know what to do, would it be okay if I came home to you? No, would it be okay if I came home to you?
A captivated audience back home barely had time to draw breath. No sooner had the Olympians returned with their medals, the Paralympians were off to Tokyo set on winning more.
She told me she was crying, and I had to admit that I was too. But you never really expect it all come together like that.
I literally gave everything I had. We won by 1/10 of a second or something. It was ridiculous.
I started off as this anxious girl, and now I am so much more.
I've worked for this for such a long time, but I've worked for each race independently. So now we've finished all 3, I'm like, we're finished, you know, I'm going home.
As Britain was gaining champions, it was also losing one, for now. In September, Anthony Joshua lost all 4 of his heavyweight titles, beaten by Alexander Usyk. England's netballers, well, they were making history, winning their series against New Zealand. Whilst over in the United States, there was a genuinely astonishing story unfolding.
One night in New York is like a lifetime anywhere.
Having caught the eye at Wimbledon, 18-year-old Emma Raducanu was now making her mark at the US Open.
This town is champagne, so shake the bottle, pop the cork.
Going through qualifying, she won her first 9 matches without dropping a set, incredibly, all the way to the final and history.
Before the match, I was nervous. I felt like something wasn't quite right. Something felt a little bit off. I think that's just usual nerves because of the occasion. But then once I got onto the court, I was just having a lot of fun out there, and I think that's what helped because I wasn't distracted. I was just focusing on what I had to do, and I executed.
This fairy tale of New York caught the world's imagination. Emma Raducanu, a teenage Grand Slam winner, now with the world at her feet.
One night in New York.
The United States too was the venue for golf's most eagerly anticipated events. Firstly, the Solheim Cup, the Inverness club in Ohio, a little corner of Europe, and so it would remain.
Say does that star-spangled banner
Hitting all the right notes on the opening day, Team Europe. Not least Fiona Maguire, the first Irish woman to play in the competition. She was brilliant. Team USA, though, would come out fighting.
I mean, you just don't know what's going to happen next.
Europe would just keep hold of that lead into the final day. Victory in sight, and there they wouldn't let go. Matilda Castron retained the title.
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
Before Emily Pedersen went and won it outright for Europe. Up in Wisconsin, well, for Europe there was markedly less to celebrate at the Ryder Cup.
They have come off second best, distinctly second best.
Team USA were going to great lengths to make this look every bit the record-breaking victory.
That's ridiculous. Oh, it's unbelievable.
It sucks losing. It sucks not being able to be competitive.
The febrile atmosphere could have been predicted. The sheer dominance of Team USA perhaps should have been. In October, the London Marathon was back, bigger than ever. The return of mass participation events, another mile marker in this longest of races back to normality. Nothing normal about what was taking place in Las Vegas the following week. The third instalment of Tyson Fury's feud with Deontay Wilder. A fight, an occasion that lived up to the hype. Settled decisively in the 11th round. Fury, champion of the world, still. Back on England's green and pleasant land, there was so nearly a French champion in Rugby League. Catalan Dragons, the first overseas side to make it to Super League's end-of-season grand final. Falling at that final hurdle to the all-conquering St Helens champions again. There should have been a World Cup to follow, but that now will have to wait another year. 2021 undoubtedly belonged to St Helens, winning the women's title as well. Chelsea finished their wonderful year by completing football's treble, the much-delayed Women's FA Cup final in front of 40,000 at Wembley.
What a goal to seal the FA Cup victory.
The first silverware of the new season in Scotland, the League Cup, went to Celtic. Cricket's T20 World Cup was won, perhaps surprisingly, by Australia. That's where England's Test side will end their year, an Ashes tour that started in the worst possible way. But 2021 was a year cricket was forced to reflect on much graver issues. The racism scandal at Yorkshire has posed searching questions of cricket and everyone within it.
There just seems to be an acceptance in the institution from the leaders, and no one ever stamped it out.
The response could now define the domestic game for years to come. For sporting drama, there was little to rival the rivalry in Formula One. 2021, the battle to be number one was possibly the most intense the sport has ever seen. Lewis Hamilton won the season-opening duel in the desert. From Bahrain to the rain at Imola, it was becoming clear that Max Verstappen was going to push him all the way. By Baku, things were blowing up, a tyre exploding at almost 200 miles an hour, robbing Verstappen of victory. Silverstone was a turning point. The pair were getting too close, Hamilton storming to an astonishing victory. Hungary was chaotic, Hamilton coming from last to finish third. In Italy, the pair needed to be separated once more. Neither finished, but the rivalry was boiling over. They touched again in Saudi Arabia, and heading to Abu Dhabi, there was nothing between them, and nothing to prepare fans for what followed. Hamilton seemed certain to win it, but a crash, debris and a safety car allowed Verstappen to controversially take the race and the title. The amazing season deserved an amazing ending. This will live long in the memory. The arguments will go on, perhaps just as long. Few, though, could really disagree with the BBC's Sports Personality of the Year.
Raducanu.
Having created history in 2021, it was perhaps in keeping with the last 12 months that Emma Raducanu received her award in COVID isolation. This extraordinary sporting year ending rather like it began.